Hello, my loves. I'm excited to be here today. I am exhausted, so sorry for my voice, but I told my team I would get this out to you guys today, so you can thank Cassandra for that. Today, I want to talk about what you've been hearing me talk about, this pre-housewife era. What does it mean? Why is it important? And why I truly believe in my core, this is the number one thing you need to master, understand, embody if you are looking to call in a masculine, emotionally available person, Viking, all this kind of stuff within this year. It's a part that's not spoken about. I haven't seen it spoken about often or even at all when it comes to partnership and what this looks like. It's usually, we talk about it when we're in partnership, but there's this arena before getting into partnership that I like to call the pre-housewife era that really needs to be the key focus even before the dating scene. It's what you should be doing in your single season versus using the single season as this next version of a swipe culture to get to the next person, and like you're never actually using this space to become the version of you that's a match to that partner. And so this is what that pre-housewife era is. And I'll break this down because this all sparked from a conversation I had with a past partner around when his business started to take off. I got jealous. And I always thought I would be the breadwinner. And so when that happened, I remember sitting on the couch with him and I was like, I just don't know how to do this role, but can you give me time? Because I want to, I just don't know how to do it. I was raised in a household where my parents competed for number one. It was whoever was loudest. And that meant someone lost all the time. And it was usually my father. My mother usually won. And so I never saw teamwork, and I never saw polarity. I never saw masculine, feminine working together as one. I saw two masculines. I saw two feminine. Like it was just, there wasn't a dynamic that I knew. And so when this came up with my partner, I needed a minute. And unfortunately, I didn't get that minute, but I still went on this journey. Sorry for the loud noises in the background. I still went on this journey of how do I be a teammate? Because it woke something up in me that made me realize I do want to be the housewife. I do want to be submissive without losing my savage, without losing my power, without losing this aspect of building this empire in this business. But when it came to my relationship, what I realized is if I want to call in this Viking, if I want to call in someone that's going to lead, protect, provide for me, I have to take off my shield. You have to take off your shield. And this is such a foreign concept for those that have been surviving their whole life. Because if you've seen anything like I've seen, where I saw my mother lose herself to addiction after her divorce and ultimately lose her life. And so I swore after I went down my own path of addiction and abuse and things like that, and got sober and got clean and did all the things, I swore I was going to build such a steady foundation for myself that I would never fall like I saw my mother fall. And I see this with my clients, whether it's something like that happened, they saw that their mothers lost themselves after divorce, or their mothers didn't have anything outside of the kids, outside of the marriage, and they felt sorry for them. Like, why didn't they go travel? Why didn't they chase their dreams? Why didn't they do these things? And so they went and they did it. And it's not to say these things are bad. I really want to emphasize that. It's not to say these things are bad, but they are a defense mechanism. And this is something that I really focus on inside of Iconic. And right now, if this is what you're focusing on, where you're like, I'm looking to call in the person, I am looking to go all in on my love this year, whether it's reinventing the love, whether it's finding my love, whether it's, shedding all of this fucking armor. I have spaces available and you can book in a complimentary call around that. But that's what sparked this whole movement, because I wanted this person. I wanted, a masculine man, a provider, a protector, a leader. And what I realized is the shield I have around myself doesn't really allow for that. And because of the industry that I work in, where a lot of women are the breadwinners. I mean, in America right now, 42% of women are breadwinners. It's pretty common that that's the thing, but there is this mismatch, right? Because then men, they are self-identified as their purpose and their thing is money, and that's how they step into their masculinity and what have you. And there's this whole mismatch going on right now. But when we're chasing the breadwinner, and that was my core, I was like, I want to be the breadwinner, because if I'm the breadwinner and then they leave, I won't be hurt as much. Maybe you felt that. And it wasn't actually from, I want to be the breadwinner just because I want to see how much money I can make. I want to see how big I can take this. I want to see how relaxed I can be as I go on this journey. I want to see what my art and how my art can be expressed. It wasn't that how it is now. It was this identity piece. And this identity piece was also an intimacy blocker, especially for men. You know, if you are looking to call in a masculine partner, their biggest core wound is inadequacy. No man does, like, they don't want to feel like they're not enough. That is such a core wound. And even if it's not intentional, I can't let you in because I'm doing this. I can't open myself up because this is my main focus. Getting ahead is my main focus. And it's this like competitive nature. Like I said with my ex, it was like I was so happy and so proud. And so I really did with him, because I can feel it in other relationships in my past where I choose very busy men. I choose very driven men, because that is what it turns me on. I love men and their purpose. I love, passionate, driven, goal oriented, like that form of the masculine. I love it. And so I saw in my last relationship when I was like, he's so in it and I'm not, and I don't really know this role. And so then I saw it being repeated in this next relationship. And so I remember when he was here and I was like, oh, how can I let this turn me on? How can I let this open me up? How can I let him being so in his purpose open my heart instead of close it? And so I remember sitting on the couch having this conversation. I was like, I just don't know how to do this. Can you give me a minute? And unfortunately, I wasn't given a minute, but I still went on this journey, the pre-housewife era, because that, to me, I was like, this will never happen again, because no longer is the focus on, am I going to be chosen? Or is this person going to love me? Or any of these outward external things. No longer did I feel like I had to prove myself or earn it. It was, how good am I at being a partner, at being the feminine partner? I know I can get what I want. I know my goals and my dreams and my visions and my life. Like, I know I am the creator of my life. I know that. And I flow with life and I can pivot and I know how to dance with it. I'm so good at that. But the part of my life, because of trauma and survival complex, that I wasn't so good at was being that type of teammate. I knew how to have conversations. I knew how to be conscious. I knew how to communicate. I knew how to listen a bit, but there was this aspect of like self-righteousness. There was this aspect of defiance. There was this aspect of not submitting, because I had this connotation in my mind. If I submit, if I open myself vulnerably to this, what if they leave? And so I'd keep these walls of protection open. I keep these moats of protection open, and you might be feeling this way. Actually, I know so many women are feeling this way right now, because you get to a point of your success where the highs don't hit anymore, and you're sick of running like there's some fucking hamster wheel, and you're sick of creating like, if you don't, something's going to run out. You're sick of chasing something, and you actually do just want to be provided for. I hear this all the time on my calls, on the audits I did the other weekend in my own peer mastermind. It's this desire to soften and be in the feminine, but the not knowing how. Because the masculine pressure has been real strong, especially in this fucking industry, especially as entrepreneurs, especially as high achievers, ambitious women, that we've been told and trained and taught that how we perform is how our worth is. And it's exhausting. And so I really claimed this identity of pre-housewife era where it was like, yes, I want to be wealthy. Yes, I want to do this movement. Yes, I want to passionately create, but I don't want to do it from survival. I don't want to do it to compete with my man. I don't want to do it that if I'm not doing this or if I'm not doing that, somehow our relationship is going to falter. And I had this like belief in my head where it was like, well, if I submit, then I'm just kind of weak and I'm passive and then I'm going to be his bitch. And I reprogrammed this whole thing around it. Because I actually realized, one, going on this journey, understanding the masculine mind and how when you truly learn how to be a feminine partner, it's the strongest thing you could ever do. Because you know your strength and you know your softness, and your softness gets to be your strength. And this is the art of understanding polarity. Because if you want a masculine partner, and I talk about this a lot in Alchemy, if you want a masculine partner, the only way to attract that is to be in your feminine. And the same tenacity that you go after your career with, the same like drive and openness and these types of things like that bring in friendships and social circles and build communities and these kind of aspects. If you had that notion of like, I'm really good at being liked, that's not the same thing as building attraction. And it might work at first. And this is the thing that I see with my clients where, you know, you're forward facing, you're more in your masculine, you do these types of things, you initiate, you're planning, you're doing, it's this kind of aspect, the masculine, it does work at first. That's the thing that's super fucking confusing because you're like, it's working at first, it lasts for a few months, maybe even 2 years. But attraction like that in the beginning, that's in your masculine, does not last long term. Because you're not actually being a teammate. You're not understanding your partner. We do this thing when we go through trauma. If you've been through trauma, if you've been through a bruised heart, if you've been through some type of situation, and if you have, I know you have because you're in my world. And that's what we talk about a lot here. When we go through that, we become survivors. And the thing about being a survivor, and you guys know I talk about this, you go from victim to survivor, survivor to thriving. When you're in the survivor role still, and there are different variations, y'all. I am in this work and there are still things I navigate. It is okay if that happens. When you're in the survival, you're selfish. This is why so many entrepreneurs are selfish. Because we're in survival mode all the fucking time. We're not in our prefrontal cortex. We're in our amygdala. We are in our limbic system. We are surviving. We're going through, and the only thing that we can think about in those moments are ourselves. And then we wonder why there's so many divorces nowadays, because we're only thinking about the me and we're not doing the work to think about the we. This is truly what changes everything. This is why you're not going to hear me shut the fuck up about this. Because how good are you at being a partner? How good are you at being a feminine partner so that when you come home, so when it doesn't matter how much fucking money you're making, it doesn't matter who's making more, who's making less, what have you, but in the dynamic of your relationship, you sit down with your partner and you understand whose roles are what. And then you could sit there and go, okay, if I want to be the feminine role, which I'm assuming if you're listening to this podcast, that's what you want, you have to take off that masculine shield. Protecting yourself and wanting someone to protect you That's clashing. And this isn't to say you come in and you trauma spill and you open up and you don't do things with a strong spine. Because here's the thing, you know you can protect yourself. You know you can pick up the pieces. You know you can survive. No one's challenging you on that. This is something I wish I could tell my younger self. No one's challenging you on that. The people that love you know you can survive, know you can do it on your own. But they just want to love you without you protecting yourself. They want to provide for you without you feeling like you're weak, without you feeling like you're undeserving of it. The feminine is receiving, the feminine is open, the feminine is soft, creative, nurturing. And this aspect is what you work on in the single season. This is what birthed Alchemy of Love. This is what's birthing this whole movement that's coming through with Iconic, with all the things that you're seeing me pump out right now. Because this is that missing piece. It is not just about the woo-woo stuff. And this is what was so interesting to me, because when I first became aware of this, right? I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, cool, I'm like into it. I want to learn how to be feminine. And it was so woo-woo. It was so like yoni work and womb work and sexual pleasure and like touch yourself and all this stuff. And I love it. Don't get me wrong. Like, if you guys are in my personal bubble, you know I fucking love this shit. You know I shove yoni eggs and I do things and I womb massage and all this kind of stuff. But in the beginning, when I was learning feminine energy, which I feel like a lot of our audience is at, that stuff, you like hear that and you're like, well, I guess I'm just going to stay in my masculine. Like, how do I work on receiving if I don't want to shove an egg inside me? And I get you. Like, how do I want to do this if I'm not going to call my man a king? I'm not going to, bow down and kiss his feet and have him yoni gaze and do these things. Like, I'm not fucking doing that. Like, so how do I do this feminine energy thing? Right? And that was this whole journey for me, where it's like, it's literally it's understanding, can you just open up your heart? And the question is, and I hear this from Michael Singer, where it's like, we get so lost in this idea of, how do I open myself to more love? How do I open myself to the masculine? How do I open myself to receiving? Just don't close. It's not about going outward and seeking all these things to open yourself up to love, thinking the next relationship, thinking the next swipe, thinking the next date, thinking the next thing is somehow going to open you up to love. No, it's just when you feel it close, which you can think of it when your heart closes, when your partner does something, when your partner's business starts to take off and you're jealous and you don't know how to assume the role of housewife. Literally what was happening. I was like, I don't know how to be a housewife. I wasn't raised by one. And I could feel, even in my heart space, as I tell you the story now, my heart closing, like the tightness in my chest. When in that time, if I could look back at that moment, it's just, how open can I be? Can I just open back up just like I am right now? If you can feel my heart right now, it's just opening it back up. And it really is just navigating it in that way. And you might be thinking this, right? Okay, so I want to do this pre-housewife era. Like, I'm into it because I want my partner, and I do want a man that's going to lead, protect, provide. But is that going to lose my savage edge? And I hear this a lot when women want to come work with me, because your savage edge has gotten you far. It's gotten you success, recognition, leadership. You've provided for yourself. You've established a sense of foundation, routine. How would it feel to do that from a space of love for yourself instead of survival? From a regulated nervous system of, I'm just going to create because this is my art. as one of my mentors is talking about right now. Like, this is just, and I've said this a lot, your life is your art, your things, right? And so it's like, you will still have it. As soon as I stepped into this, my business 10x'd, y'all. 10x'd. Same with my clients. By not even promoting things, people are applying for calls and to work with them. Their launches are going smashingly. Like, this type of work, when people can feel that energy. You guys can feel my energy. I do this because I want to, not because I have to. And there's that relaxation. And yes, I get it. You know, some of us are in the single season and we don't have someone providing for us right now. We don't have the funds to provide for us. We don't have these things. But in that space, can you open yourself up to something, someone's opportunity, something to come in and provide for you? Would you still be doing the job that you're doing? Or would you have some type of passion or something that you love? I can fucking bet that you would. I can bet that you would. Because people like you and me, I'm sure you started this when it was still free. Like, you just started creating content and talking to people about it and studying shit like this. Like, you're not going to lose it. It's just going to come from a space of expansion and abundance rather than I need to somehow make the biggest future I can have so I can outrun the demons of my past and the shadows of my past. Because the truth is, I don't know any female entrepreneur, and please come reach out to me if you have done this, but I have not met one female entrepreneur to date that did not create their business out of a trauma of either trying to prove their parents wrong, prove an ex wrong, outrun the demons of their past. I haven't met one yet. And so that savage edge of needing to be a breadwinner is a masculine shield that is protecting you from the deepest intimacy that you are craving. And it does not mean you can't have it all. You do. You just have to fucking understand the difference of polarity and understand that you're not competing with your partner. You're not, because when you say things like that, that's what you're doing. You say, hey, I want a masculine partner, and hey, I want someone to provide for me and lead for me, and I want this masculine thing, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you're competing against him. And if he's not that, then he's inadequate, which therefore you're calling in already their biggest wound. And so the thing that I started to look at is first the mindset around this. We're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about relationship to self. And we're going to talk about feminine energy. The first was the mindset, is that housewife doesn't have to be bad. Housewife to me used to be like lazy, not doing shit, spending all their money doing the thing. And now I'm like, that sounds absolutely fabulous. I would love for my man to come in and do his fucking magical thing, and I just get to go to the spa. Please. And still create this business and still do the things that I love. I don't view it as that housewife. And it doesn't even mean like, I'm not someone that cooks or cleans. Like, literally my ex used to make fun of me where I was like, you assemble food, you don't really cook it. I'm like, I know, I'd just rather go play and do other things. That's not what it means. You know, that quote unquote wifey, I ain't doing wifey shit till I'm a wifey. No, you train for the game that you're playing. If you're in sports, I heard this on the Nice and the Neat podcast, where it's like, you train for the sport that you're in. You don't just like, I'm going to kind of play basketball today, but I'm not going to, until I'm actually in the NBA, I'm not going to show up for it. How the fuck are you going to get picked for the NBA then, bitch? Like, that's not how this works. You don't save. And we do that because we think, well, if I just save my housewife stuff for when I'm a housewife, then they'll choose me, then they'll do the things, and I can protect myself. Because too many times I've given it away and I've had my heart broken, and therefore it's that problem. It's that I gave it away before I was it. No, it's either you gave it away to the wrong person, or you're talking about that you gave away sex. And that's the thing, because if you think about what an actual housewife is, supportive, nurturing, creative, kind. Those things are so valuable to the masculine. And that has nothing to do with your body. That has nothing to do with cooking or cleaning, unless that's your love language. I know some people do. Being in your housewife era isn't weak, isn't bad, isn't something you reserve for later. It's something that when you are so good, and we'll get to this in number 2, when you are so good with yourself, you have an open heart and a strong spine, and you've healed the wounds of your past, and you've alchemized the wounds of your past, and you've done the trauma work and the somatic work, that you know yourself to be rare and valuable. No one can take that from you, whether they choose you or not. So you give one of my friends said this to me. She's like, no matter what, you're always giving your whole heart. Like, you're so quick to pivot and, you heal and you do whatever, but like, you always give your whole heart. And this is why I know I'm rare and valuable. I know my clients know this too. At least they're working on it. Because when you know you're rare and valuable, this quote unquote housewife, keep your housewife shit, or keep your wifey shit, like, that doesn't play into the game. You're just the best teammate that there is. And that's where, like, you step into this single season where Alchemy of Love comes in, where it's like that me season. You focus on, think of this in a business lens. You create the most extraordinary fucking program. And if it's not the most extraordinary program, you go back and you fix it until it is. You do the research, you get the people in, you test it, you add, you replace, you take away, like, you make sure it's the most incredible fucking program that there is. Product that there is. You are that. That's what that me stage is. Are you the most valuable product that there is? And if it's not yet, you go and you do that work, so that when you get to the we stage, knowing I am the best product that there is. I am one of the best, because we're not competitive. We are one of the greats. When you're one of the greats, and then you move into this stage of, now I'm ready to be a teammate, because I know me. I'm not self-abandoning. I'm not looking for you to replace my needs. I'm meeting my needs as they are, but I'm open for you to be a value add to that. I'm no longer codependent and lacking boundaries and having you define my self-worth and all these things that happen from the feminine pain body. When you've healed that, now you come into partnership, where it's like, I can fully see you in your light, in your strong masculine, and your essence, and your truth, and your fucking wisdom of this world, and I can appreciate it. I'm not challenged by it. I can support it. I can be there for you. And when you come home, I am soft. I am here, and I get to take off my fucking shield that I've been wearing all day, and I get to surrender into you. That is strength. That is not something you just save for some fucking something after. It's strength. It's when you know you do that. And that moves into that second part, where it's a relationship to self, that's softening. When you heal that relationship to yourself, this part, this feminine essence, it just flows. The playful, the silly, the delightful, the giggly, the joyful, the anger, the rage, like the dark feminine, the light feminine, it all comes out when you have this healthy relationship to yourself. And that needs to be the focus, because in order to be the best teammate, your relationship, like, if I can look back at that relationship, right, when it was like, I don't know how to do this, I was already paving the way, right? I didn't have at that time a teammate that was ready to go all in and the way that I did. But that was also a mirror to the stage of my life that I was at, where I was starting to pave this. But that relationship mirrored back to me the emotional unavailability that I had, the fears I had about my future, the insecurities that I had about certain things. And so what that invited after, I was like, oh shit, if I'm thinking these things about this person and I'm thinking they're not being my teammate and they're not here, da, 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 when I know to be true, because I've done enough of this work, that every relationship we have is a mirror to the things that we haven't yet healed within ourselves. What am I doing about that now? I'm becoming fucking Michael Jordan over here. A1 Beyonce, what's up? Like, that was that invitation. And, I really invite you to look at that, because you do the me, you look at the stuff, and then it's the we, where it's like, look at your relationships, look at how you felt about them. Did you feel like they were a teammate? Did you feel like they were showing up? Did you feel seen, heard, felt? Because if not, and it's healthy and it wasn't abusive, not everyone's a narcissist. it, that's where you can show of like, is my relationship with myself being reflected outward right now? And where can I start to heal these things? And where can I start to soften it? Where can I start to feel safe within the feminine, so that when we move into the feminine, which is the last part of this that you can look at, that just becomes so fluid and so safe. Like, it's just a natural, it's just like your arm, like it's just the extension of you. Because it is your natural essence. Babies are feminine. The most feminine fucking things on this planet are babies. You look at them, all eyes are on them when they walk in a room. Everyone wants to cater to them, give everything to them. They're the cutest things ever. They freaking poop on themselves and people love it. They're so feminine. And then all of a sudden we go through our entire lives of defending ourselves and building these personas and creating these masks and figuring out who we are by trying to be other people and doing all these kind of things and trying on these freaking masculine shields, because we've been hurt and bruised and heartbroken and dismissed and rejected and abandoned and discouraged and disappointed. And all of these things have happened. And our job now is to remember who we were before all of that fucking shit happened. No pressure. But the only way, y'all, the only fucking way to have the type of relationship I know so many of you are craving is this. Save this, listen to it 1,000 times over, to really step into that pre-housewife era of understanding your feminine, of releasing this feminine pain body from your body, so you no longer are reacting from it. So that, although yes, I'm sure, your mother tried and your father tried and you had these things, but a lot of us have built up this persona of, I'm going to be the breadwinner. I invite you to explore that. Why? I'm going to guess it's not from a space of, because I love myself so much and I just think money is cool and I just want to see, and I'm just so thankful for life. So I'm just going to keep going and see how much money I can make while I do it and share my magic and create art. I'm going to be super regulated and all of it's going to turn me on. I bet not. I bet you're a lot like me and how I was, where it was like, I'm going to do this so I don't get hurt. And so even if they leave, I'm okay. I'm already projecting into the future that they are going to leave. Or you're like my clients, where it's like, I'm going to be the breadwinner so I can prove that I am worthy of love, because I have to earn love. I don't think I'm just worthy of it just by being. I have to earn it. I have to do something. I have to contribute to the household. I have to do something. Otherwise, they're going to get bored of me. They're going to think I'm, freeloading. I can't do that. Or like, what if the kids leave one day and like how my mother was, and then she's going to go crazy and she's going to start doing these things. So I'm not doing that. So I'm going to build up this empire. None of that is feminine. None of that is inviting in a masculine partner. None of that is being a teammate. to be in this pre-housewife era, like going into dating, intentional dating, secure dating. The questions I get asked all the time, every day from you guys. How do I stop attracting emotionally unavailable partners? You stop being emotionally unavailable yourself. 1. 2, you start intentionally dating, which means you declare you're ready for marriage. Are the people you're dating also doing that? A lot of times it's this, like, we don't know our value and we don't know to do these kind of things because we're sitting in this space where it's like, I don't want to ask too much and I don't want to. If that person hasn't said, hey, I'm looking for my wife, because they're dating differently when that happens, right? A man that is looking for his wife isn't going to try and sleep with you. A man that is looking for his wife isn't going to try and compete with you, isn't going to belittle you, isn't going to play games with you. A man that is looking for his wife is looking at how nurturing and kind is she? How good do I feel in her presence? Do I feel like a man in her presence? Do I feel like I can take care of her? Do I feel like I have to like always compete for the check and like, all these kind of things? It's enticing, it's exciting at first, but long term, a man that is declared he is looking for his wife plays an entirely different game. He's there. He's open. He's honest. He's busy, most likely, because he's probably high value. But he's never going to make you not feel like a priority. Are you doing the things in this season of your life to be ready for that? Because there is a certain type of partner that person is looking for. And that isn't to scare you or to put you off or to compete with anyone. It's to invite you into looking at, instead of creating these lists of these people that, you somehow think are going to validate your existence and make you feel like a good woman and make you feel chosen and make you feel like you belong and heal all the abandonment wounds of your past. Instead of that, it's knowing you're the best for the job, knowing you are rare and valuable. And it's just figuring out from two complete people, is this a match from that level? Is that landing for you? Y'all, this is the biggest concept. Of course, there's things out there. There's communication styles, there's confidence, there's magnetism, there's healing the trauma, there's attachment styles, there's a bunch. I talk about them all. This is number 1. Because when you've healed those things, how good are you at being a partner? In your feminine. And it's not about, because you might be feeling this, because I did too. It's not about faking it. Because again, when you heal your shit, you're not faking it. Feminine is your natural essence. Whether you choose to embody that or not is entirely up to you. But when you heal your stuff, it's your natural essence. So when you go into relationship, that just flows. And that's where I want you to get. Because I know you're craving love. Like the deep kind of love where you feel safe. Whether your best friend, your teammate, like they're your biggest fan. They worship the ground you walk on, and vice versa. And I want you to have that. So I'm giving you my biggest secret. And so focus on this. And let me know how this lands. Share this with someone you feel this could light up with. Maybe share this with your partner and have an honest conversation about it. Like, how am I doing in this field for you in this pre-housewife era? Not like, now you want to freak them out about marriage, but they probably won't be, because you guys are smart. But, start a conversation. How do you feel about this? Do you feel like I'm supporting you in this arena? In our roles, like, what is the roles that you want to have in this relationship. How are we doing in that? How do we see that being fulfilled? Like, start the conversations that matter with this. So you can have the relationship that you want. And then outside of the relationship, do the work. Whether that's in Iconic, you can come join me. We can set up a complimentary call. Whether that's in Alchemy of Love, whether that's in Arrival. We have so many different areas for you to dive into, depending on what type of support you're looking for. But if you want the best team, you got to be the best teammate. And that comes from being in this pre-housewife era. So I love you so much. Let me know how this landed for you. Come hang out over on Instagram. It's Laura Patricia Martin. Y'all know that, unless you're new here. Come get that. And then if this landed for you, go write us a review. It helps us so much. It helps us get the most incredible guests on the show. And it means the world. It really does. It helps us out a lot. So thank you so much in advance. And I will see you in the next episode, baby. Bye.